Good evening, my fellow philos and mites. On this episode of my conservative podcast, I will be giving Israel its modern-day lore-accurate borders in vanilla HOI4. But when starting a new game, you can't even select them on the map, because in 1936, the concept of Israel has yet to break out of its containment within the minds of strangely influential high verbal IQ LARPers. But luckily for you, dear viewer, I am also a huge LARPer, so that won't stop me. You may be wondering why I'm playing as Gamerist Germany in an Israel video, and that is because Britain, the occupier of Israel's only core state, can't manually release countries and instead has to decolonize via focus. But even after doing that, they release Palestine instead of Israel, and furthermore you don't even get to play as them, so ironically, the best way to play as Israel in HOI4 is to start as Germany. The reason for this is that while Britain may not be able to release countries at will, Germany can, so the plan is to quickly invade the UK, dismember their empire, and finally take Palestine, where we will be able to release ourselves as Israel. I want to do the tag switch as quickly as possible, so I don't pick a focus in order to get the political power to justify a war goal on a British puppet as soon as possible. And as for my other opening moves, I start researching paratroopers, because yes, we will be cheesing. With enough political power saved up, I justify on a British subject, and as the paratrooper tech is researched, I convert 6 infantry divisions to paratroopers. On the 30th of September 1936, I get my war goal and declare war on the UK. Many a brave Fallschirmjäger is pulverized by state anti-air during their descent over Dover, but resistance on the ground isn't as stubborn, and thanks to my tactical genius, we eventually prevail and seize 2 ports in the south of England. Needless to say, it's over for Britzo. In the peace deal, I only take Palestine for myself and liberate the rest of the empire, which for some reason completely wipes away all of the world tension generated by my previous shenanigans. Don't read too much into what you're currently seeing, I actually love circumcision. Before I can release myself as Israel and get a community guideline strike, I max out the infrastructure in Palestine so that I will be able to skip the infrastructure focuses in the generic focus tree and get the research a lot faster. I also make a better division template for us to inherit when we do the tag switch. And then, on the 1st of February 1937, I'm removed from the ADL's watch list as the real campaign begins. Since the generic focus tree was changed, the communist path is now the best path for manpower if you don't have much of a population, and it's also more convenient than going fascist since we already start with a bit of communist support. So yeah, welcome to my Judeo-Bolshevik world conquest. While waiting for communism to manifest, I dedicate Judah's brightest scientists to getting support equipment and artillery techs, and with the help of the industrial branch of the focus tree, I eventually even managed to produce some. Since the extremely important and fun to play country of Israel hasn't gotten the attention it deserves from Paradox, we have no advisors, so instead of getting a chief of army, I waste all of my CP on rolling strangely Arabic looking commanders like I'm playing a gacha game. Communist agitation goes on for about a year, and in April 1938 we succumb to our own medicine and kibbutz max. In an effort to stop being lore inaccurately poor, I use my newfound diplomatic freedom to employ the tried and true method of foreshadowing your way into Japan's faction with the stated intent of helping them establish dominion over the inferior cynics. Naturally, I have an ulterior motive, but the Japanese aren't sufficiently familiar with us to suspect anything, so when I declare war on China, they give us military access without batting an eye. The IDF then successfully makes landfall in Japanese-occupied Hong Kong and starts doing what it does best. By employing proprietary, ancestral techniques like aliyah, market speculation, and of course, fraud, I conjure up enough manpower and equipment to significantly grow my army, and after 5 years of war crimes, the IDF, having left its mark on the battlefield, manages to repatriate the lands of the former Guangxi clique to its rightful ancestral owner. But the most valuable thing gained from this war isn't the territory, but rather the logistics wizard we managed to train, who also doubles as an army experience generator, which we desperately need owing to our severe lack of advisors. Write hashtag advisors for Israel in the comments to make Paradox address this borderline anti-Semitic injustice, guys, and smash like and subscribe while you're down there. The IDF's thirst for the blood of the innocent is still nowhere near quenched, so immediately upon the cessation of the Sino-Japanese War, I joined Japan in her war against the Allies and turned my army around to conquer Indochina. Thanks to our high intelligence quotients and a little bit of gamey supply management, seizing the supply desert that is Indochina is a breeze, and the IDF returns victorious to Tel Aviv, in a shipping container, to save on transportation costs. After being reconstituted back home, the IDF is put to work dispatching the Turks, which it does very well until reinforcements arrive and the front bogs down for 3 months. Luckily, the UK declares war on Iraq, which pushes them into my faction and extends the front. front, allowing us to punish more foolish goyim. After a few years of trying to cap Turkey, my exhausted synapses gently suggest that I move my brave IDF soldiers to a front where they can have actual game impact, a build that Libya seems to fit. The IDF does very well when not swamped in millions of friendly troops and makes short work of allied North Africa, giving us a healthy amount of war crime points. While we took care of Libya, Italy decided to actually be useful for once and naval invaded Turkey, which we helped them exploit fully, leading to the collapse of Turkey and the complete deportation of allied cells from continental Europe. Oh my Fauci, they're sea lioning. In a desperate attempt to get more war participation, the IDF is immediately sent to England to carry the idle AI on their strong Sephardic backs once more, which results in the capitulation of the United Kingdom on the 7th of December 1945. We now have 9% of the war score, which probably isn't enough to reach our goal, but there is still a lot left of the video, so there's ample time to get more. Huh, that's a pop-up you don't typically see in a historical game. Oh well. I'm sure it won't have a detrimental effect on the campaign. Blissfully ignorant of the coming disaster and eager for more land, I invade Jordan, which immediately joins Xinjiang's faction. Desperate as I am to help my ally Japan, I send the IDF to Xinjiang, and since I can use esoteric Kabbalah magic to conjure up supplies at will, the Uyghurs' only ace in the hole is rendered null and void, and their foreskins are summarily confiscated. Despite the IDF's bravery and martial prowess, we are left with next to no war score in this war, so Jordan becomes a Japanese protectorate. When this happened, I was rather upset, but in hindsight it was a blessing in disguise, which will become apparent soon enough. As I am just about to start my 6-day war reenactment as a consolation prize for getting cucked out of Jordan, I notice a worrying icon on my diplomatic screen. It seems Portugal did this focus that gives them war goals on major and neighboring communist countries. Now, during the game, I didn't realize I was bordering Portugal and thought that they got the war goal on me because I qualified as a major, but in hindsight it was because I took the Guangxi clique, which borders Portuguese Macau. This will become important later. In any case, I can't overstate how surprised I was by this turn of events, and since the Portuguese joined the Axis when they invaded Spain, this is more than a little threatening. I figure there's not much to do about it now, so I quickly get a non-aggression pact with Portugal and go on my merry way, hoping that it buys me enough time to cap the US and finish this already lengthy campaign. Since I now have a bit of a deadline, I group up my sorry excuse for a navy and send the IDF to the Arctic. After some island hopping, we make it to Labrador and fight our way ashore. Progress is slow but steady, and the fall of Ottawa is but a few days away when suddenly a telegram reaches the Sanhedrin. Just over a year after signing the non-aggression pact with us, the perfidious Luso cells declare war. As previously mentioned, the reason Portugal got a war goal on me is because I was communist and we shared a border in China. To cancel a non-aggression pact a mere year after its creation, you need to have more than twice your enemy's troops along your common borders. Since I forgot about Macau during the game, I didn't have a single division there, thus allowing Portugal to cancel our non-aggression pact as soon as they did. Considering the fact that Portugal was allied with Germany and I didn't have any combat-ready troops in metropolitan Israel, I was devastated, to the point of considering picking up a rifle and promptly putting it down again. Here on Low Time Preference Gaming, we don't back down from a challenge. I've conquered the world as many a shithole before, and I'll be damned if I fail to conquer the world as a country as wealthy and influential as Israel. It won't be easy though, be it, as within a mere week of Portugal's unprovoked attack, the once feared IDF has been reduced to a handful unequipped and unstaffed divisions desperately clinging on to life while the Axis hordes flood into the Holy Land. But as more and more recruits are deployed, the situation stabilizes, proving to the world that we aren't going anywhere, no matter how much we deserve it.
I'm hopeful about Israel, because my people, the Jewish people, emerge from the depths of hell.
An extremely lopsided casualty ratio is all well and good, but unless we can get the ever-stubborn Japanese to open a second front, there's no way we win this war before the turn of the millennium. Luckily, the ever-capricious AI eventually gives in, and in the summer of 49, Japan finally joins their greatest ally in their existential fight against white shenanigans. There are some drawbacks to this though, be it. Since Japan finessed Jordan from us a while back, we've had a very small front to guard so far, but now that Japan has joined, they've also called in Jordan, which extends our front lines and puts us in an unenviable position. But surely the Japanese are protecting our colonies at least, right? To cope with the extended front, the IDF starts employing maintenance companies to allow for a very stereotypical way of acquiring equipment, which in conjunction with our infinite manpower basically allows us to keep this up forever. But we're not here just to hold, we're here to win. And I think it's time for some winning. After almost 3 years of soul-crushing grinding, I look over at China and see that the front looks very pushable, so I decide to brave the combined convoy raiding capabilities of both Axis and Allies to send my armored corps to China to take back what's mine. Contrary to what I've come to expect from this sadistic game, the armored corps arrives to Indochina unraided, and when it reaches eastern China, the Portuguese are in for a world of hurt. After single-handedly saving China, the IDF makes sure that the inhabitants of Macau pay for their crimes, and before long the entirety of Israeli China is reconquered. Having regained our access to our glorious Chinese steel mills, Israel is once again ready to take on the world. Wow, really mask off there, buddy. Wait until the ADL hears about this. There's no utility in crying over spilled civilians, so I decide to open another front against the Germans by declaring war on Pakistan. And don't worry about the nuclear hellfire, you get used to it after a while. Unlike Jordan, Pakistan doesn't join a faction, so I get to annex new territory again for the first time in many years. This takes the Germans by surprise, which enables the brave IDF to start advancing into German-occupied Iran. Shockingly, this actually pays off, and soon after I reach the Caspian, the German salient is sliced off, and hundreds of thousands of Israel's enemies are condemned to death. The bloodletting performed in Iran hugely boosts morale, which enables the IDF to score another huge encirclement of over 50 divisions. But our glee is short-lived, as the enemy's enormous army and air force quickly returns the front to a state of trench warfare. It stays like that for the next 4 years. Even after encircling literal hundreds of divisions and giving Gentile airports the Gaza treatment, the Anatolian front simply refuses to break. If I don't wrap this up soon, my computer will commit mutiny, so I start looking for alternative fronts to push and settle on the Caucasus, which turns out to be the best decision of my life. The next hour of gameplay is just me absolutely violating the Joe Bidening Wehrmacht, courtesy of their genius decision to never put more than 1 division per tile on my front, and the equally genius decision to not use their 50,000 planes. Come to think of it, where even is their army? The next 6 months bring the Axis to the brink of collapse. Their manpower reserves have run dry, and I'm within spitting distance of core Axis territory. The time has come for the final push. Ah, there we go. Finally done with that little detour. Now let's see what majors are left to clean up. Thanks to my German collab government, I now have 800 factories, so the remnants of the Axis don't stand a chance. No, not even Ethiopia. Why am I not getting a peace deal? More than 2 years and a change of government later, we finally have a competent enough navy to come to Brazil, which in short order leads to the fall of Venezuela and the final demise of the Axis. I can finally return to my Conquest of America, which you know is the point of this campaign. After marching through Central America, I arrived back at where I was 16 years ago, on the US border, ready to invade. But this time, there will be no more detours. What the Fauci? You know what? I don't care anymore. It's time to do what I came here to do. Perfect. Just like in real life.